Lord Mayor William Russell, Dr. Rhian Mary Thomas, distinguished guests, a very good morning. It is my pleasure to join you at this pivotal moment in Glasgow, where parties are striving to deliver an ambitious, credible, and inclusive outcome at COP26. Cities are critical nodes in addressing climate change. Home to more than half of the world's population, cities account for 2/3 of global greenhouse gas emissions and more than 3/4 of total energy consumption. Let me share some reflections on how cities can play their part in our transition to a low-carbon future. First, cities are well placed to harness the innovations and synergies that advance sustainability and livability. By enabling economies of scale, cities increase the commercial viability and magnify the impact of green initiatives. That is why we launched the Singapore Green Plan 2030 in February. This is our national roadmap towards sustainable development and net zero emissions, while balancing economic growth with sustainable development and social inclusion. Harnessing synergies is particularly important for a small city-state like Singapore. With limited alternative energy sources, land and manpower, Singapore faces much starker constraints and trade-offs than what most countries face. But we are determined to turn constraints into opportunities for innovation. In July this year, we opened one of the world's largest floating solar farms, which allows us to use our reservoirs not just for drinking water, but also generating power. We are aggressively accelerating the deployment of solar panels on building rooftops and other untapped spaces, including canals and roads. By bringing universities and industry experts together, cities are well placed to develop new sustainability solutions. In Singapore, we invest significantly in R&D efforts in low-carbon technologies as well as measures to protect against climate change. As a living lab, we can serve as a test bed for innovative solutions that can be adapted to other cities. Second, cities with their complements of services can help to channel resources to where they are most needed. Green finance will enable the transition to a low-carbon and climate-resilient future. Given these large and growing financing needs, we must improve the flow of capital and expertise across borders to benefit communities and build critical infrastructure such as solar panels and wind turbines. Singapore has set up Infrastructure Asia to facilitate the flow of funds, support infrastructure development, and bring key stakeholders to work together. Today, Singapore is ASEAN's largest market for green bonds and loans, accounting for about half the market. We are pushing ahead to develop a vibrant green finance ecosystem to support Asia's sustainable transition. We will invest US $1.8 billion into climate-related opportunities. We aim to work with the financial industry to build reliable data platforms to better monitor and mobilize capital for green projects. We are also setting out roadmaps for mandatory climate-related financial disclosures, starting with sectors most exposed to climate-related risks. Third, cities can facilitate greater regional and international collaboration. As engines of growth and innovation, cities have a critical role to play in forging a network of cooperation. By working in partnership, cities can amplify our growth and innovation efforts, build on one another's strengths, and unlock solutions such as regional energy grids and carbon markets while accelerating the development of technological solutions. International cooperation will spur green growth opportunities, and we are keen to partner like-minded countries. Singapore strongly supports a multilateral, rule-based approach to address climate change. Under the UNFCCC process, we work with all parties to push for the best possible multilateral deal on climate change, Singapore is co-facilitating ministerial consultations on Article 6 of the Paris Agreement on carbon market rules at COP26, alongside Norway. Let me conclude. Throughout history, cities have been beacons of strength, ingenuity, and progress. As the world faces a critical juncture in the fight against climate change, I am confident that cities can once again rise to the occasion and generate compelling solutions to the global climate crisis. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm honored to join you for the Green Horizons Summit at COP26. As the mayor of Miami-Dade County and a longtime climate activist and advocate before that, I have spent decades advocating for the need to catalyze private investment and bold policy making that will accelerate our transition to clean energy. Last Wednesday, before I left for Glasgow, my administration launched Miami-Dade County's new Climate Action Strategy. This multi-pronged plan offers full details on interlocking ways that Miami-Dade County government will cut greenhouse gas emissions 50% by 2030 from 2019 levels. Our objective is to then keep pressing forward to reach net zero by 2050. In meeting this goal, we will fulfill our community's pledge made this year to be a leading partner in the international race to zero. The approaches we are using in our climate action strategy create complementary synergies to help us more quickly cut greenhouse gas emissions. Miami-Dade's many pathways to zero include our Building Efficiency 305 program, which incentivizes energy and water efficiency investments in large commercial and public buildings. Our work to pursue joint procurement with other local municipalities and anchor institutions for solar installations and to leverage public and private funding for maximum benefit in building retrofits, including solar panels added to public housing. We're aggressively expanding use of electric vehicles with new charging stations recently installed in county garages, new buses added to our Proterra electric public transportation fleet, and more EVs now used for county services. We announced a commitment to bring shore power to Port Miami, and we're on track to do so. And our Office of Resilience is leading new collaborations with local leaders in high-emitting industries, including our seaport, airport, hospitals, and construction businesses, such as concrete distributors. These industries are also some of our largest employers. So when we work towards emissions reductions in these areas, we benefit from a ripple effect of raising awareness among all the residents who work in these industries. We're also collaborating across our community on clean energy task forces with Miami-Dade County Public Schools and with Miami-Dade County's public-private economic development agency, the Beacon Council, to recommend policies and incentives needed to accelerate private investment in alternative energy, building energy efficiency improvements, and emission-free transportation. This is just a short list of the many ways that local government in Miami-Dade County is working in tandem with private businesses to secure financing so that we can achieve our ambitious goals for drastic reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. We are a coastal community on the knife's edge of climate change, and we know the eyes of the world are on us as we work to adapt and mitigate the accelerating threats. It's also important to acknowledge that the difficult realities of climate change can be overwhelming for members of our community and others across the planet. We need to focus not just on what we have to lose, but how much we have to gain. We should celebrate the fact that we can spark an economic boom by moving aggressively and immediately to solve the problems caused by climate change. That's why we are focused on investing in infrastructure projects and transitioning to clean energy to create high-paying jobs and new opportunities for tens of thousands of local families and businesses while also reducing climate pollution. In Southeast Florida alone, every dollar invested in climate and disaster mitigation today will save us $4 in disaster recovery later. an ounce of prevention truly is worth a pound of cure. And easing state of Florida regulations affecting solar energy production could result in more than $3 billion in economic benefit to the state each year, while also supporting 18,000 jobs and reducing emissions. We have so much to gain when we work together to take on climate change, and the climate disaster threatening our very existence can also be the catalyst to propel us into a renaissance of human creativity, problem solving, change, and growth. I thank everyone listening today for helping our world move more quickly toward our shared goals of protecting lives and livelihoods and ensuring a bright tomorrow. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to speak to you today. My name is Olivia Gippner, and I support the Executive Vice President of the European Commission, Frans Timmermans, who is currently leading the European Union delegation at the COP in Glasgow. Just transition is a key issue of our time, one that the European Union takes extremely seriously. The transition must be just, or there just will be no transition. The fight against climate change is humanity's greatest challenge of the century. To win this battle, we must radically change the way of our life for the better. And Europe is up to the fight. We have pledged to cut emissions of the continent by 55% by 2030. The European Green Deal, our energy and climate strategy, is a blueprint for dealing with this climate crisis. It is a strategy in which environmental, economic, and social sustainability go hand in hand. The EU's ambition to be climate neutral by 2050, so reaching net zero greenhouse gas emissions, lies at the heart of the deal. In July, we adopted an ambitious package of proposals that will make it possible for the EU to reach these targets. This is very concretely an interconnected set of proposals, which represents a balance between strengthened and expanded carbon pricing, our emissions trading system, targets, standards, and support measures. With these proposals, and as they are being discussed by the co-legislator, meaning the European Council and the European Parliament, will put into law, will make real the targets for 2030 and 2050. Our proposals aim to transform our economies, societies, and cities radically to confront the climate crisis head-on, and at the same time harness the opportunity this transformation provides. The EU took a decision to make just transition a key pillar of the Green Deal. We have done so in order to ensure that this transition benefits all and nobody's left behind, but also because we believe that we can only swiftly implement the Paris Agreement if we foster social fairness. To do so, we need to keep in mind the needs and the interests of those who have a more difficult starting point, either because they work in coal mines or other carbon-intensive industries, or because they have to heat their homes with fossil fuels, or because they cannot afford to move to clean mobility, and at the same time, they live in remote areas. We have used our recovery program from COVID-19 as an opportunity to invest in a more resilient, climate-friendly economy. Allow me to give you some concrete examples. More than 60 billion euros of post-COVID-19 recovery funds will be spent in renovating homes across Europe. We will also invest massively in renewable energy and in clean transport. We will also mobilize up to 75 billion euros to help regions affected by the coal exit and the industrial transition via a dedicated just transition mechanism. We're also proposing a new social climate fund of a similar scale, which will support home insulation and renewable heating and cooling, access to clean transport, and when needed, even direct income support for vulnerable households. Our approach is paying off. Coal phase out in Europe is accelerating, and all coal regions are preparing their just transition plans in partnership with social partners, mayors, and other stakeholders in the region. Most countries in Europe already have a date and plan or are working on it. With our EU initiative for coal regions in transition, we help bringing people together on the ground to engage them, to make this transition inclusive and fair, and so that jobs in coal mining can be replaced by better quality and more sustainable jobs. Of course, these weeks, we have to look also at the world and at our international partners. They are facing very similar challenges. Because of that, just last week, the European Commission, together with several EU member states and partner countries, endorsed a political declaration calling to step up international action on just transition. We will now work over the next 12 months on a series of concrete measures to make this pledge a reality. One is to support the coal transition in South Africa. This cooperation also shows that together we can keep a global momentum on the issue of just transition. Social fairness will remain a cornerstone of climate policies in the years to come. The EU therefore calls on all the international partners, stakeholders, citizens, cities, and of course, the civil society sectors to join this global movement to put fair transition at the very top of our agendas. I thank you very much for your attention.